Sup, dudes? Alright, time for some sekiro. Let's get back to it. Hopefully this time everything is working accordingly. Fuck, I need to make a thing for it. Sick. Sorry, actually, I need to close that. We want this. Why is nothing working? Oh my god. Alright. Sorry, I know I should have done that before the stream. Okay. Let's get to it.
物資殿にははい。我が師道元より流院は海星の力を授けることができる。しかしそれは常ならぬ繰り返せばやがてよどみがあふれ、関わった者に病として降りかかる。その病を知りながらそれを止められなかったは私の不明すみません。
その流害を治す術は
わかりません。まずは死の残した記録を当たってみます。
頼む。
ではまた。
Why does my stream not pop up anywhere? Here we go. Okay, now we good. Whirlwind slash, acquired combat art, whirlwind slash, a spinning attack that can hit a shortcut combined with the force of the spin. Okay. Cuts open a path to victory. And to counter enemy thrust attacks. Okay, now. Increase the maximum number of spirit emblems that can be held. Okay, and was made by the mechanical genius dog and can be fitted to a. Okay, there we go. I think that's the one that Tarek was telling me I missed. That's nice. And so it begins. I've forgotten everything. Everything so quickly. fuck is going on? Like, this is right by the starting area. Why am I stuck here? Just need to get used to the controls, get into the habit, you know, all of that jazz. I'm gonna end it all live on stream. You're all gonna see it. I'm gonna change everyone's lives here. I'm killing everyone. Everyone, like, I'm just giving everyone diseases here. Oh, fuck. This game's trolling me. What's going on? This is a fucking joke. I don't get it. I don't get the joke. I don't see the funny haha. I really don't. This is crazy. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. What the fuck? It's a good thing no one's watching this because, oh my god, this is the worst gameplay ever. The highest imper priest gave this candy to a band of short but adept assassins.
赤鬼め、縛るだけでは不安じゃのう。戦の前に我らが襲われてはしょうもないわ。いざとなれば火を使うしかあるまい。赤目は火を恐れる。そういうお達しじゃ。お達しね。変わっちまったな、足の戦も。
So this is the next thing. No. This is how. Why am I so bad? I need to be patient. That's the thing. That's the thing. Just need patience. I've used like all of these up, and I've got no money.
平田から逃れてきたもの、もうほとんど残っており、そうすまぬ。流因を狙う者は絶えぬ。平田の者たちを私が巻き込んでしまう。
I'm very, very much in the midst of this. What's up? I dunno. Oh, no. No. And now I don't have any flame left. Black grains forming the base for gunpowder material using them. Nice. Eat shit. That was shocking. Absolutely shocking. so little time. Great. I'm rage quitting. I'm absolutely rage quitting. Never seen a man rage quit like this before. Fuck that. I hope I lost everything there. Hope I lost absolutely everything there. Oh my word. Fuming. Fuming. Absolutely fuming. Never seen a man do that before. I've never in my life. That was crazy. Alright. Let's see what Phil DeFrank has said about the news.
Trump's Epstein problem just got way worse, with a now panicked Trump White House making denials as the Epstein birthday book ended up exposing even more than expected. More information is expected soon, and Massey and Khanna should have the votes for the Epstein files by the end of the month. Also, Israel just struck Qatar in an attempt to assassinate Hamas leaders as top leaders gathered to discuss Trump's ceasefire proposal. You've got at least 19 protesters dead, Parliament on fire, and the Prime Minister resigning as the Gen Z protests rage in Nepal. We're talking about all of that and even more on today's brand new Philip DeFranco show. You daily dive into the news, starting with this. We've got to talk about the now infamous Epstein birthday book, because it's been released and it's actually way worse than we previously thought. Because back in July, you had the Wall Street Journal reporting, though not published, publishing the actual thing, that Trump had contributed a letter to Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday book. 2003. But it said that it contained a drawing of a naked woman whose pubic hair is Trump's signature, as well as an imaginary dialogue between Trump and Epstein, something that was very weird and creepy sounding. Trump supposedly writing that they have a lot in common, and then adding enigmas never age, have you noticed that, and ending a pal is a wonderful thing, happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret, right? And in response to it, Trump calling the whole thing fake, and then suing the journal's reporters, its publisher, and its parent company, News Corp, for
Why is this stuttering so much?
defamation. And you had many, including J.D. Vance, though I think he asked it rhetorically, asking, where is this letter? And, well, now, letter's here, along with the rest of the 238-page birthday book, because the House Oversight Committee got it from Epstein's estate and released it last night. And so now we know this letter, it very, very much exists, but still you had Trump allies denying that it's authentic. You had Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying, as I have said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. President Trump's legal team will continue to aggressively pursue litigation, and adding, this is fake news to perpetuate the Democrat Epstein hoax. You then also had the likes of Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, and the White House Deputy Chief of Staff posting other examples of Trump's signature, claiming that they look different. But as many have pointed out, the signature in the letter, it bears many hallmarks of Trump's actual signature. The bold serif lettering, the loopier cursive, the long tail at the end, and the final V. There are even some side-by-side examples of known signatures from Trump, as well as this one from the birthday book. The one, you have Trump defenders using examples of his signature where he doesn't do the long tail. And two, you've got folks like Republican Representative Tim Burchett claiming that, this could just be an outright...
This shit's so crazy. I can't believe Donald Trump fucking wrote that letter. That is wild. Like, they never grow older. That's wild.
I mean, anybody can do a signature. We've seen the auto pen's been used quite a bit with the Biden administration. So I've never known Trump to be much of an artist either. I just don't buy
So
it.
you think really someone might have just forged this somehow and sent this to the app?
Somehow it's so easy to do. I just don't buy any of it.
But then with all that, you had people pushing back, saying it would be very strange and weird and seemingly unnecessary for Epstein's own estate, and therefore Epstein himself, when he was alive, to have a fake letter from Trump in his birthday book. Right? Of course, you've also had Trump attacking the credibility of the lewd drawing, with him saying in July,
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women. That I can tell you.
and then you had his
Bullshit. Just straight up.
son Eric
It's a
reiterating that
lie.
claim yesterday.
I can tell you my father does not sketch out cartoon drawings.
But as is public knowledge, and as others have pointed out, Trump did draw pictures around that same time.
Like, just the lying is so crazy. How are you gonna lie that often? So drawings.
Which he actually auctioned off for charity, and their style is remarkably similar to the one in the letter. And once again, right, here they are, side by side, for comparison. But that's also not where it ends. Even seemingly where he refers to himself in the third person in the letter's imaginary dialogue, it resembles his speeches and social media posts.
Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump. If Putin likes Donald Trump, you wouldn't even be hearing about the word immigration if it wasn't for Donald Trump. Trump was able to get him to give something. I don't know what the hell it was, but it doesn't matter. Then Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
Right, and then there's stuff like his distinctive vocab, right? You had people out there going, the president would never use the word enigma. But in fact, he used it to describe Don King, Mike Tyson, and Dan Rather in his books. And then you have things like the letter's phrase, a wonderful thing. It's something that Trump uses frequently.
It's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be wonderful for the Middle East. And it was a wonderful thing. It's been a wonderful thing.
But also, a thing that I think should be focused on all this is the stuff outside of just Trump's letter. What we're seeing is that the birthday book contains much, much more that is very something you've seen more and more people weigh in on is there's one from a businessman and longtime Mar-a-Lago member, Joel Pashkow. Because it shows that
You know what I find crazy about this whole thing is I never really believed in conspiracy theories too much until recently, because now there's just so much information coming out that's just blatantly like it's obviously true. And it really makes me look back at like other conspiracy theories that I wrote off and just reformulate them and really start looking into them more and realize America's done so much of this stuff for so long and then just written it off our wacko conspiracy theories. Like, obviously I'm not a tinfoil wearing hat person, but like so much of the stuff I didn't believe in, I now I question or I research and I know what's up. Like, I never thought the CIA was selling coke to minorities. Did some research. Apparently that's true.
Epstein receiving an oversized check for $22,500 with Trump's name on it with the caption, Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women and then sells fully depreciated redacted name to Donald Trump. And according to the Journal, that redacted name belongs to a real person, a wealthy European woman, then in her 20s. So drawing apparently is meant to show Trump purchasing a woman from Epstein. The source is also saying that she was courted by both Trump and Epstein in the 1990s, but then when she ultimately went for Trump, Epstein felt bitter. Though I will say the woman's lawyer claimed she had no romantic relationship with either man, severed ties with Epstein in 1997, and doesn't know Pashkow and has no knowledge of the birthday letter. But then also, there are dozens of other letters in this book, and though most don't mention Trump outside of a brief comment that he was one of the many famous people that they met through Epstein, they do demonstrate, in the words of the New York Times, that Epstein's lewd and lecherous behavior with young women was both widely known and widely celebrated by people who described themselves.
It's just so gross. It's so fucking gross. These people have no shame, no morals.
His closest friends and associates. So you've got things like a cartoon drawing of Epstein lying in a beach chair, getting what appears to be a nude massage, at least, from 4 topless women. There's also another comparing him to the fisherman from a Hemingway story, except instead of catching fish, he catches women, blonde, red, or brunette. You then had another lamenting so many girls, so little time about Epstein. You also had one that reminisced about how in a farm town in Iowa, where it was hard to tell the difference between the girls and the hogs, Epstein somehow managed to find a spectacular tall blonde who he later invited back with him to New York. You then had another letter where the person said they agonized long and hard about what to write, and then simply put photos of lions and zebras having sex, and adding that they seemed more appropriate than anything I could put in words. And next, you have a letter alluding to how in the mid-1970s Epstein first discovered the Maxwell teenage daughter. And then finally, you had one letter
These people are fucking revolting. But also, like, this person's obviously doing blackmail stuff. And these people just implicate themselves by writing a birthday book for him. That's crazy. Like, that is crazy. Just like giving more blackmail to the psyop dude.
marveling at the fact that somehow, at the age of 50, Epstein has avoided the penitentiary. So y'all can draw your own conclusions from all that, but arguably, these letters show that even 3 years before his first arrest, Epstein's reputation for being at least a womanizer and at worst a sex pest with a fixation on very young girls it was widely known among his friends. As far as Trump's take on this, when NBC got him on the phone this morning, he reportedly said, "I don't comment on something that's a dead issue. I gave all comments to the staff. It's a dead issue." And you had JD Vance saying much of the same, posting on X, "Democrats don't care about Epstein. They don't even care about his victims. That's why they were silent about it for years. The only thing they care about is concocting another fake scandal like Russiagate to smear President Trump with lies. No one is falling for this BS." But also, and maybe unfortunately for Trump, this appears to be only the beginning, right? Because the House Oversight Committee got more than just the birthday book from Epstein's estate. They also now have his will, his 2007 non-prosecution agreement, right? That sweetheart plea deal that he got, and almost 30 years of entries in his personal address book. With that, I will note that the estate's lawyers told the committee, "We are not aware of the existence of a list of clients involved in sex acts, or sex trafficking facilitated by Mr. Jeffrey Epstein." And so for now, we're going to have to see, what we have to work with here and wait to see if the House obtains more evidence. Which, actually, we need to mention this. The committee still hasn't received a second batch of documents from Trump's DOJ, despite the deadline to comply with the subpoena for the full Epstein files coming and going weeks ago. And all of this is, despite having several of Epstein's victims coming to Capitol Hill last week and demanding that Trump release the files, no more Republicans have signed on to Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey's discharge petition. So there's still just 2 lawmakers short of getting it passed in the House, with Massey himself, Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Lauren Boebert being the only ones to join Democrats. But also, I'll add there that the votes in the House are very likely going to change soon, because the Democrats...
It's so weird that all of a sudden, Marjorie Taylor Greene is looking like a better person. It's so weird. Fighting against Israel, fighting for the openness of the Epstein files. I hate that woman. What is going on in this world?
Democrats have vacant seats because their politicians died, and those seats are going to be filled soon. So that also doesn't mean it's a dumb deal. The White House might be able to work with or pressure one of the Republicans who says they will vote for it, and maybe they change their mind. Something we often see in Congress is people feeling like, "Oh, I can vote against this because they know it's not going to actually have an impact." But soon, when the reality on the ground changes, maybe their vote does as well. For now, we'll have to wait to see, and it really does look like Mike Johnson and Trump might be in a bind here. But then, quickly, in a 1-minute break that helps keep the show free, let me say, it's time. It is time for you to get out there, especially because we've been given out gas and go make some memory. Just be a cop, that, or, not drinking and driving. Right? Because what we're seeing from this investigation from the New York Times and the nonprofit newsroom New York Focus, it is shocking. Over the past 2 years, they got over 10,000 previously confidential disciplinary files detailing misconduct at roughly half the state's law enforcement agency. And what they found is that some New York police departments have caught officers drinking and driving, and then they protected them from the punishments that you or I would face. Right? Because if you're not a cop and you're caught driving while intoxicated in New York, you're looking at losing your license for at least 6 months. You'll face nearly $1,000 in fines, and you could even go to jail up to a year. And that's for a first-time offense. All that said, I'm imagining you're hearing this and you're going, well, it's not a surprise that officers give their brothers in blue special treatment. They even had a... But I don't know, I'm just interested. But the next step, we also have to talk about how a federal appeals court just ruled that Trump has to pay $83 million for defamation. Right, if that number sounds familiar, it's because this case centers around E. Jean Carroll. Back in 2019, she publicly accused Trump of sexually assaulting her 2 decades earlier, and Trump, for his part...
He's a fucking sex pest. Everyone, you have voted for sex pest. Okay, so I'm South African. When I was in school, we got Jacob Zuma as our president. Corrupt, he would sexual assaults and stuff, and America now has Jacob Zuma as their president. Literally so many similarities between the worst president in South Africa's history, minus a couple racists, and Donald fucking Trump. That is so fucked. The person that brought South Africa to its knees, ruined everything. You guys got the same thing. I would have never thought. As a kid, I was like, how can we have a rapist as the president? But guess what? America voted for the same as the most powerful country in the world. That is nuts.
Repeatedly denied the claims and criticized Carol. You had Trump continually attacking her on social media during news conferences and in other public forums, and in response, you had Carol filing 2 lawsuits against Trump, alleging both defamation and sexual assault. And in 2023, you saw a jury finding him liable for sexually abusing and defaming Carol, awarding her $5 million in damages, and that was a decision that notably was upheld by a different appeals court, though Trump's lawyers have indicated that they intend to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. Then, the second case, which is the one that we're talking about today, that just focused on the defamation allegations. With that, last year you had a separate jury ruling that Trump must pay Carroll $83.3 million for his defamatory remarks, which is a decision that he appealed, and yesterday, a 3-judge panel on the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals unanimously rejected his appeal. They upheld the jury's ruling, and the judges wrote that the jury's award was fair and reasonable, and adding that there was ample evidence that Trump was recklessly indifferent to Carroll's health and safety. And very notably here, the court also rejected Trump's argument that presidential immunity protected him from being liable for defamation. Because you had Trump citing a Supreme Court decision last year that granted presidents sweeping immunity from prosecution for official acts, but the appeals court said that's a no-go here. But then next up, today in international news, we've got to talk about Israel now launching a strike on the capital of Qatar, with a strike reportedly aimed at senior leaders of Hamas, and a spokesperson for the Qatari Foreign Ministry saying on X that the attack targeted residential buildings housing several members of Hamas. And then also, you had the Israeli Defense Forces confirming that they had launched strikes directed at senior Hamas leadership, though it didn't explicitly mention Qatar. Now, with that said, at least as I'm recording this, the exact number of casualties is unclear, but in a statement, Hamas claimed that the attack had failed to take out any of its top leaders, though it did say that at least 6 people had been killed. But also, regardless of the potential body count, this move, it's massive for a few reasons. Starting with the fact that
Are they just allowed to bomb whatever country they want? That is crazy. Like Qatar. They're just going and bombing Qatar.
Qatar has
That's
played a
crazy.
major role as a mediator in talks between Israel and Hamas since October 7th, and as a result, Qatar has widely been viewed as neutral grounds. They keep in contact with the Israeli government, with senior officials repeatedly traveling to the country for talks. Qatari officials have said that in the past they agreed to host an office for Hamas because the U.S. requested it, and in fact, sources from both Hamas and Israel have said that the attack came as Hamas negotiators were gathering in the Qatari capital to consider President Trump's latest ceasefire proposal. And with that, you had Hamas, Palestinian politicians, officials involved in the talks, and foreign leaders all arguing that the strike appeared to be explicitly designed to sink the negotiations. But in an address today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tried to paint this as a peacemaking action, arguing that
I hope this guy suffers the worst, most agonizing unaliving in the world.
the strikes can open the door to the end of the war in Gaza, and claiming that Israel had accepted Trump's proposal to end the war. But then you had many others pushing back on that and saying that an attack on Qatari soil during ceasefire talks marks a dramatic escalation, not a step toward peace. And so you had Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson calling it a criminal assault that constitutes a blatant violation of all international laws and norms. Right? And that was something that was also echoed by other international leaders, including the UN Secretary General, who also slammed the move as a violation of Qatar's sovereignty. Though to that point, you had the White House spokeswoman telling reporters that President Trump believes this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. But still, very notably here, she also kind of criticized the strike, saying, quote, unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. But then also going on to add that eliminating Hamas was a worthy goal. And so obviously we're going to have to wait to see what comes from this, what else we learn, but it is very likely that this is going to hurt Trump's latest efforts to negotiate a ceasefire and end the war. But that is also not where the international news ends, because at least 19 protesters have been killed, government buildings are burning, and the Prime Minister has now resigned in Nepal. And all of this, it stems from late last week when the government moved to ban 26 social media platforms in the country.
How I read about this.
Including Facebook.
America is such a good exporter of culture, and ever since Trump won, the exploitation of corruption and just allowing corruption, it's just gotten so much worse all over the world.
X, and YouTube. Right? With the government claiming that the companies had failed to register and submit to government oversight. But that ban, it was widely seen as a tool for censorship and something that would allow the government to punish those who...
Obviously.
voice their dissent online. And so what you saw is that it sparked what's been described as Nepal's Gen Z protest, though I will say very notably, this has been about a hell of a lot more than social media from the very beginning. But it's also about unemployment, economic inequality, and corruption, and all of that, it's encapsulated in the anger that we've seen directed at the country's so-called Nepo kids. Because I think most people are familiar with the term Nepo babies, but in this specific context, the term pretty specifically refers to the children of political leaders who have been seen enjoying lavish lifestyles on social media in the eyes of many, thanks to the ill-gotten gains of their corrupt parents, and all while most other young people, they struggle to even just find work. I mean, youth unemployment there, it stood at around 20% last year.
That's cute. A third. Very nice. Very nice. Almost half of the country. It's so sad. So sad.
And the Nepali government actually estimates that more than 2,000 young people leave the country every single day to find work in the Middle East or Southeast Asia. And so with all of that now in your mind, it was then on Monday morning that tens of thousands of people gathered in Kathmandu and surrounded the parliament building. You then had police responding by deploying tear gas, water cannons, and rubber bullets. And at least at one point, according to reports, they opened fire with live ammunition, ultimately killing 19 people. Right, and then you had the government responding by the prime minister saying that compensation would be given to the families of those killed and that those who were wounded or received.
What is with that finger? Getting that thing way too hooked, bro. Just to grab onto any little cash. Is that what that little thing is for? Grabbing onto cash with little hook fingers. Freak.
Treatment. He also announced that he would form an investigating committee that would submit a report on the shooting in 15 days. The government also lifted the social media ban, and early this afternoon, the prime minister actually resigned. But what we're seeing is that none of that has satisfied the protesters, right? You had tens of thousands remaining on the streets today, with some attacking government buildings and the residences of top political leaders. And specifically, what you had is the presidential palace, the prime minister's official residence, the building housing the offices of the prime minister and several ministries. They got torched along with the private homes of some politicians. And in fact, in videos being shared online, you had protesters reportedly being seen beating up the head of the country's largest party, who has also been prime minister several times, along with his wife, who's the current foreign minister. You've got helicopters airlifting some ministers out of the city, and with most senior politicians running for cover, there's seemingly no one left in charge. You had the heads of Nepal's main security agencies, including the army chief, issuing a joint statement appealing for restraint and calling on political parties to find a peaceful way out of the crisis. And then, as far as the president, who really has more of a ceremonial role in Nepal, he's urged demonstrators to cooperate for a peaceful resolution and called on protesters to come to talk, and saying in a statement, in a democracy, the demands raised by the citizens can be resolved through talks and dialogue, including through the participation of representatives of the Gen Z. Though, with everything that we've seen so far, we're gonna have to wait to see if that can actually happen and end that way. And all of this is notably, like, this is not the first country in the region where we're seeing something like this play out. The images that we saw out of Bangladesh last year, they weren't so different, when deadly protests ended with the resignation and exile of that country's prime minister. And actually, 3 years ago, we saw similar events playing out in Sri Lanka. So a lot changing, a lot happening, and we're gonna have to...
Hectic. Alright. I crashed out in the game. Looked at the news, saw how much worse life was for other people. Now we move. Alright. Okay guys, bit of a short one. I'll see you guys tomorrow, where I'll try Sekiro again.